Sometimes the most fascinating look into the past doesn't come from a history book. It comes from something like this, a corporate newsletter from August 1994. We're going to dive in because what this company considered a big win back then tells a really surprising story about technology, work, and just what mattered in that era.
So, let's set the scene. It's the mid-90s, the Cold War is kind of over, but the world is still a pretty tense place. A huge U.S. defense contractor puts out a newsletter for its employees. What do you think is their big celebration? Well, the answer is this incredible mix of something massive and something really, really personal.
So what we're looking at here is the Data Systems Today newsletter. It's from a company called Litton Data Systems, and it's dated August 31st, 1994. This is more than just some old memo. It's a genuine window into what a high-tech company was proud of and how they talked about it to their own people.
And bam, right there on the front page, the main story is a huge deal. It's not about profits or opening a new office. No, this is about a critical, high-stakes national defense project that just hit a major milestone. This was the big story of the day for them.
And that project was called THAAD. Now, if you follow defense tech at all, you've definitely heard that name. It's still incredibly relevant today. But back in 1994, this was the absolute cutting edge. They were literally trying to build a digital shield for the country.
So, what exactly is THAAD? Well, it stands for Theater High Altitude Area Defense, and its job, in simple terms, is to shoot down incoming ballistic missiles way up high in the atmosphere. It's like the ultimate defensive play against some of the fastest weapons on Earth. We're talking about mind-bogglingly complex stuff.
And Litton's piece of this giant puzzle? They were building the software. Not just any software, mind you. They were responsible for the BMC3I, which is a mouthful, for battle management, command control, communications, and intelligence. Let's just call it what it is. They were building the brain of the entire system. This is the code that has to see a missile coming, figure out where it's going, and guide an interceptor to take it out, all in a matter of minutes. No pressure, right?
The huge milestone they were celebrating was the delivery of Build 0 of this software, and crucially, they delivered it on time to Lockheed. Now, this wasn't the final version, but it was the essential foundation. It was the code that was about to be put through its paces in these incredibly complex simulations, a massive step for the whole program.
But delivering the code on time? That wasn't the only thing they were bragging about. The newsletter highlights another achievement, one that was all about how they did the work. And this is what put them in a pretty exclusive club.
So the company had an independent team come in and do what's called a software process assessment, basically grading their work process. And the rating they got back was level 3. Now, I know, level 3 doesn't exactly sound thrilling, but in the software world of 1994, oh man, this was a massive, massive deal.
And here's why it was such a big deal. The newsletter itself points out that fewer than 10% of organizations that were assessed at the time even reached level 3. So this wasn't just a friendly pat on the back. This was hard proof that their engineering process was in the top tier of the entire industry.
And the praise wasn't just internal. It came right from the top. A guy named Don Marsh from the government's own THAAD project office commended them. And listen to what he praised. Yes, the technical success in being on time, but also their close teamwork. It just goes to show you, even on a project this complex, the human element was absolutely crucial.
Okay, so you're probably thinking this whole newsletter is about missile defense and complex software, right? I mean, that's a huge story. Well, you'd be wrong, because buried right there on the same front page is a story about a completely different kind of company win. So let's take a hard left turn here. We're going from national defense to personal finance. Because the other big news at Litton in August 94 was the results of their annual U.S. savings bond campaign for employees. And it's just a fascinating peek into the corporate culture of the time. So what was the big win here? Well, they got employee participation to go up from 39% to 41%. A 2% jump. It sounds tiny, doesn't it? But this was celebrated as a major success right there next to the billion-dollar defense project.
But when you actually break down the numbers, that 2% meant a lot. It meant that almost 90 employees started saving money for the first time through this program. And maybe even more impressively, 178 people who are already saving decided to increase the amount they put away. For hundreds of people, this was a real, tangible win in their own lives.
And how'd they do it? This is my favorite part. The incentives for signing up were a chance to win 2 round-trip airline tickets or one of 75 $100 savings bonds.
It's just such a perfect 1990s corporate raffle, isn't it?
All right, so let's just step back for a second and look at what we've got. On one hand, you have a project that could literally change global security. And on the other, you have a company drive to get employees to buy savings bonds. What does that tell us when they're celebrated with equal importance? It really breaks down like this. You have the macro win, this huge nationally important tech achievement by an elite team. And then you have the micro win, a grassroots campaign for the personal financial well-being of the employees. And in 1994 at this company, both of those things were considered front-page news. It really suggests a time when a company's success was seen as a partnership between its biggest projects and its individual people.
And that just leaves us with a really interesting question for today, doesn't it? This newsletter perfectly captured a moment in time where a big win was both external and internal. It makes you wonder, in our world of remote work, gig economies, and constant change, have we lost a little bit of that balance? What does a real company win even look like anymore?